Hello and welcome to Standard Voice Television Global News. Today, 8 May 2026, equivalent Islamic calendar, 21st Zulqa'dah, 1447 after the Hijrah of the Noble Prophet. In the headlines, Vice President Svtv submits Tinubu's 2027 presidential nomination forms to APC. INEC seeks police support ahead of 2026 general elections, citing security threats. Troops kill scores of terrorists in failed Magumeri base attack in northeast. And on the international scene, US-Iran exchange fire despite Strait of Hormuz ceasefire deal. And on sport update, Nigeria Football Federation names new coaches for Golden Eaglets and Flying Eagles. Details of these and more will be coming to you in the news bulletin. I am Sumaya Mustafa. Stand by. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's nomination and expression of interest forms has been submitted to the national offices of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, signaling his intent to clinch the party's ticket to contest the 2027 presidential election for a second term in office. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who submitted the form, was accompanied by state governors, National Assembly members and party officials to support the president's candidature, stressing that Tinubu has demonstrated his ability to pull Nigeria out of the economic and social morass it had been enmeshed in. Earlier, Speaker of the House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas commended Tinubu's leadership at a different time in Nigeria's history, assuring of better days and a brighter future with the president at the helm of the nation's affairs. On his part, the APC National Chairman Nentawe Watda said the performances of Tinubu and governors elected on the party's platform is enough justification for the president's re-election. An Abuja High Court is expected today, Friday, May 8th, hear a suit seeking to stop former President Goodluck Jonathan from contesting the 2027 presidential election. The suit was instituted by a lawyer, John Mary Jidiobi, who is praying the court to declare Jonathan constitutionally ineligible to seek the presidency again. The presiding judge, Justice Peter Lifu, had on April 28 ordered that hearing notices be issued and served on the defendants after they failed to file responses to the suit. The former president listed as the first defendant in the matter, while the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and the Attorney General of the Federation are joined as second and third defendants, respectively. The plaintiff is seeking an order restraining Jonathan from presenting himself to any political party as a candidate for the 2027 presidential election. He also prayed the court to stop INEC from accepting or publishing Jonathan's name as a presidential candidate for the poll. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) sought the support of the Inspector General of Police Olatunji Disu ahead of the 2027 general elections. INEC Chairman Joash Amupitan made the appeal during a courtesy visit to Disu in Abuja, where he informed the police leadership that INEC had commenced full preparations for the elections scheduled for January 16, 2027 for the presidential and National Assembly polls, and February 6, 2027 for governorship and state houses of assembly elections. He described security as both the first mile and the last mile of the electoral process. Amupitan told the police chief that the release of the election timetable and ongoing political party activities, including ward congresses and conventions, had effectively activated the electoral process and constituted what he described as a security trigger, requiring immediate and sustained attention from security agencies. The issue are expanding assured INEC of the police force's full preparedness, saying the force will discharge its responsibilities with professionalism, impartiality, and strict adherence to the Constitution, the Electoral Act, and all extant laws. Moving on, the National Association of Broadcasters, NAB, has unveiled a new podcast designed to provide essential updates on the broadcasting industry titled Airtime. The weekly show will release new episodes every Wednesday morning, focusing on legislative and regulatory changes that affect local television and radio stations. NAB Chief of Staff and Executive Vice President of Public Affairs, Michelle Lehman, said the inaugural episode is now available, featuring a discussion on the importance of keeping live sports accessible on broadcast television. He also noted that local broadcasters are essential in keeping communities informed, whether it's breaking news, severe weather updates, or vital democratic issues. The unveiling episode includes insights from John Miller, President of Acquisitions and Partnerships at NBC Sports, in a discussion with John Orand from POC at the NAB show. The High Court of Taraba State has adjourned proceedings in a legal dispute filed by Celestial Omoebi, Managing Director of Kano-based Arewa 24 Network Limited, and the registered trustees of the Northern Broadcast Media Owners Association, along with other defendants, to June 4, 2026. The matter, which came up before Justice Nuhu Adi on Wednesday, May 6, 2026, involves claims arising from a dispute between the plaintiff and key indigenous broadcasting stakeholders in northern Nigeria, including Atar Communications Nigeria Limited, based in Abuja. At the proceedings, a notice of preliminary objection challenging the competence of the suit was brought before the court. The chairman, Northern Broadcast Media Owners Association, Ahmed Tijani Ramalan, while speaking after the Jalingo court session, reiterated its legal challenge against Arewa 24 TV channel, intensifying a dispute over broadcasting and commercial advertising, cultural and regulatory rights in strongly worded voice. He added that the association's position on protecting licensed indigenous Hausa content broadcasters in northern Nigeria remains sacrosanct. Moving on, Channels Television has debunked the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) Nyesom Wike's claim it is making money from land allocated to it in Abuja. The media outfit made the refutation on Thursday, adding that the minister's statement is incorrect. It will be recalled that on Wednesday, during a media parley, Wike engaged in a public dispute with Channels Television, suggesting that the media organization benefited from free land allocations in Abuja. According to Channels Television, all land obligations were met in 2007. The news is coming to you on Standard Voice Television Global News. Still to come in the news. Troops kill scores of terrorists in failed Magumeri base attack in Northeast. On the international scene, US and Iran exchange fire despite Strait of Hormuz ceasefire deal. And on sport updates, Nigeria Football Federation names new coaches for Golden Eaglets and Flying Eagles. Details of these and more will be coming to you after this break. Do stay tuned. Welcome back from that short break, and now the news continues. The troops of Operation Hadnankai has repelled a terror attack on the Forward Operating Base (FOB), killing scores of Islamic State West African Province (ISWAP) and recovering of firearms after in Borno. The Media Information Officer, Operation Hadnankai, Lieutenant Colonel Sani Uba, in a statement said troops fought decisively, contained and defeated the attack. He added that the failed attack occurred in the early hours of Wednesday when the terrorists attempted to infiltrate the base under poor visibility. Uba also confirmed that 2 soldiers lost their lives during the encounter, while an officer and other injured personnel were receiving treatment and are in stable condition. The spokesperson said the terrorists made minor breaches in an isolated section of the camp, but were overpowered by troops, adding that exploitation of the area revealed extensive blood trails, body drags, and the recovery of terrorist corpses, indicating heavy casualties among the attackers. Still in the news, troops of Sector 2 Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Fansanyama have killed 3 bandits and recovered arms and ammunition during a fighting patrol operation in Zamfara State. The Media Information Officer of Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Fansanyama, Lieutenant Colonel Aliyu Danja, disclosed this in a statement. He said the troops carried out the operation on May 7 in Kaura, Namoda, and Brindam Magaji local government areas as part of ongoing efforts to deny terrorists freedom of movement within the state. The statement also explained that troops encountered armed terrorists at Domborum village, where a fierce firefight ensued, adding that the troops overpowered the attackers with superior firepower, forcing them to flee after suffering casualties. A federal high court in Abuja has convicted former Minister of Power, Saleh Mamman, for alleged diverting about 33.8 billion naira in public funds. Justice James Omotosho, in a verdict, held that the prosecuting agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC proved its case against Mamman beyond a reasonable doubt as required by the law. Justice Omotosho came down hard on Mamman for living large while he was minister, at the expense of Nigerians, noting that his actions contributed to the nation's inability to overcome the power supply challenge. The justice also suspended the sentencing portion of the judgment until May 12 because, contrary to standard practice, the ex-minister stayed away from Thursday's court session. The EFCC, among other things, alleged that he conspired with staff members of the ministry to divert about 22 billion naira intended for the Zungeru and Mambila hydroelectric power projects. Moving on, a federal high court seated in Kaduna has scheduled Thursday, fixed June 1, 2026, for the hearing of two pre-trial motions filed by Nasser El-Rufai in the corruption case instituted against him by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. The presiding judge, Justice Rilwanu Aikawa, adjourned the matter for counsel for the former governor, Mustafa Abubakar San, informed the court that he was not ready to move the applications immediately. The former Kaduna State governor is facing allegations of financial misconduct, including the alleged release of billions of naira belonging to Kaduna State for projects said to have remained unexecuted during his administration. The former governor, however, denied all the allegations. The court had earlier on Wednesday adjourned proceedings until Thursday for a ruling on applications seeking the variation of some of the bail conditions earlier granted to the defendant. Justice Aikawa had on April 14 admitted El-Rufai to bail in the sum of 200 million naira, with two shorties in like sum, and also ordered that he remain in ICPC custody pending when the bail conditions were met. Still in the news, the first batch of pilgrims has landed in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, ahead of the beginning of the spiritual exercise held later in the month. The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NAHCON, stated that a total of 2,111 pilgrims from Kogi, Kebbi, Nasarawa, Ogun and Oyo states made up to the first batch after spending 4 days in Medina after their departure from Nigeria. It will be recalled that Vice President Senator Kashim Shettima inaugurated the flight for the 2026 Hajj on Sunday, May 3, at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Shettima, during the inauguration, enjoined the pilgrims to be mindful of the fact that the whole world is watching them, and as such, they should be good ambassadors of Nigeria in the Holy Land. Meanwhile, as Nigerian pilgrims began moving to Mecca today, where they will perform Umrah and Hajj, NAHCON has advised the pilgrims to remain patient and orderly in visiting the Rauda in the Prophet's Mosque in Medina. And on the international scene, U.S. President Donald Trump says the truce with Iran is still in place despite an Iranian attack on 3 American destroyers in the Strait of Hormuz that found fears on Friday that the ceasefire was uncertain. The U.S. military confirmed that it carried out strikes on Iranian military targets in response, although Tehran charged that it was Washington that had initiated the exchange of fire. The latest violent threat to unravel a fragile truce in effect since April 8 that brought an end to weeks of U.S. to Israeli attacks on the Islamic Republic, which has retaliated with strikes across the Middle East and by blocking the strait, a vital route for oil and gas shipments. The United Arab Emirates UAE said Friday that its air defenses were engaging missile and drone attacks originating from Iran. U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, in a post on X confirmed that Iranian forces launched multiple missiles, drones and small boats at the 3 U.S. warships, but none were hit, and that it eliminated inbound threats and targeted Iranian military facilities when responsible. And lastly, on sport update, the Nigeria Football Federation NFF has appointed Abdul Mekaba and Ebeborise Ewejamomori as head coaches of the men's national under-20 and under-17 national team. Mekaba and Ewejamomori's appointments followed the reshuffling of the backroom of all age-grade national football teams. The Executive Committee of the Federation had earlier endorsed the recommendation of the Federation's Technical and Development Committee for the appointment of Mekaba and Ewejamomori as head coaches for both teams. Mekaba, who has managed several of Nigerian clubs, has also previously coached the under-17 boys national team known as Golden Eaglets. He was assistant coach of the under-20 boys Flying Eagles during the period Paul Agigobun served as head coach. Also, Eweja Momori, the new head coach of five-time world champions Golden Eaglets, has served as coach analyst with the senior men national team, Super Eagles, for many years now. Finally on the news, here is a recap of the top stories again. Vice President Svtv submits Tinubu's 2027 presidential nomination forms to APC. INEC seeks police support ahead of 2026 general elections, citing security threats. Troops kill scores of terrorists in foiled Magumeri base attack in Northeast. And on the international scene, US, Iran exchange fire despite Strait of Hormuz ceasefire deal. And on sport update, Nigeria Football Federation names new coaches for Golden Eaglets and Flying Eagles. On behalf of the news editor Ilya Adamu Auta and the production crew, I am Sumaya Mustafa, thanking you and bye for now.